right? Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Kol Halal Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim Rakakwadash, double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Salutation to you, brothers, pushing this word in truth and sincerity. As you can see on the screen, the article is million New Yorkers can't afford food as hunger crisis worsens. All right, and this aligns with the prophecies of famine in the scriptures. Um, so I'm gonna bring out some precepts going into the famine because these are the early stages of a famine, shortage of food. As you can know, that the pandemic had a effect on the food supply. People were rushing to the stores, and the grocery stores haven't really recovered. Okay, the shelves aren't full. You're missing certain products. Certain products come in on one day and then they don't have it the next day. And the food stores only have like a 3 day supply of food. So when those supply lines get hit, you'll have shocks to the global food supply or in your local food supply, which is going to lead to famines and food shortages and rising prices, which is going to cause these people to bug out even more. All right, but it says million New Yorkers can't afford food as Hunger crisis worsen. So this is a crisis, okay? This is a crisis, and it's pertaining to the food. All right, you look up the word crisis. It says a time of intense difficulty, trouble, or danger. Okay, and that's the time that we're coming in. We're coming into food crisis. All right, which is going to bring forth danger. It's going to spring forth danger. People are going to lose their minds. All right. This is by Tyler Durden, Zero Hedge, and they write all types of articles on the collapse and the reality of the economic situation in Babylon the Great in America. And what they've been writing for years has not been good. Okay, it says in the seventh month of the virus, seven represents completion of the virus pandemic. New York City is still in shambles, with more than 500,000 residents unemployed as the small business collapse continues. Broadway is closed. Manhattan offices are empty as remote work dominates. Violent crime is surging, and an exodus of people from the city has created a perfect storm for economic chaos that will hunt many New Yorkers for years. That will haunt many New Yorkers for years. It must have been, it said hunt many, you know. Let me keep on reading. It says a byproduct of the virus induced economic downturn is food and housing insecurity for millions of people in the tri state area. Deep economic scarring produced by permanent job loss has left many people in a bind. Some working poor may never recover, while others could take years. Food and housing insecurity will be, or should be, a hot subject as millions in the tri state area are suffering ahead of the holidays. Readers may recall in early October, the Community Food Bank of New Jersey warned that more than 1 million New Jerseyans were expected to suffer food insecurity by the end of the year. Now the problem is becoming more widespread. At least 1 million New Yorkers are expected or will soon experience food insecurity, according to Fox 5 New York. Alexander Rappaport, the executive director of Miss Bia Soup Kitchen Network, said, "We have done disaster before, but nothing is even close to what we are doing right now," referring to the long lines at food banks across the city is all too common. So there's a lot of people, there's a lot more demand on these food banks, okay, and it's been increasing, and it's getting to a point where they're running out of food. All right, it says Masabia is a nonprofit soup kitchen network and food pantry with Borough Park and Flatbush locations in Brooklyn and Forest Hills in Queens. Rappaport said there had been a 500% increase in demand. See, the increase is skyrocketing. In a separate report, New York Times estimates the number of New Yorkers who are going hungry could be upwards of 1.5 million. Denise Allen, a mother who visits one of Masaba's food banks, said, "I'm on a limited income. I visit every 2 or 3 weeks, said Allen. Rappaport said there is so much need, so much so that for the last 3 days, Rappaport, his staff volunteers, have been operating around the clock. All 3 locations are now open 24/7, feeding 1,500 families a day. But it is still not enough. With demand high for food banks in the city, he said long lines have developed, which forced him to create an entire new system in what he calls digital food bank lines. You now have to make an appointment to pick up a box of food, Rappaport said. Meanwhile, it's not just the tri-state area that is economic distress, with millions going hungry while others are at risk of eviction. Feeding America, one of the nation's top food banks, recently warned that it may run out of food in the next 12 months as demand has overwhelmed its network. Food and housing insecurity for millions of people across the country signals the transmission mechanism of stimulus, if that was through physical or monetary, has failed to support the working poor. Okay, so these government measures are not working. All right, there's a demand on the food bank, which is the actual reality of what's happening in the streets. Okay, and you got the Republicans and Democrats. Okay, they're in election season and people are catching hell. All right, and it's only going to get worse. Whoever president comes in, it's not going to get better. There's not no a magic wand that they can do to stop this. And it's all part of prophecy. The Lord Yahweh Bashim Al-Shah said it, he was going to bring these things. Now let's start with this precept real quick right here. This is I'm going to read 2nd Ezra 15 and I'm going to jump down. 2nd Ezra 15 and 1, it says, Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, okay, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. See, these words were always faithful and true. These words are the words of prophecy. All right, they were caused to be written in paper. Okay, it says, for they are faithful and true. Fear not the imaginations against thee. Let not the incredulity, that's unbelief, of them trouble thee that speak against thee, because you're going to have people that's going to speak against what we have to say. All right, the men of the Lord, they spoke against Ezra. We're not to fear their imaginations. All right. Because why? It says, for all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. So some of these people that don't believe what we're saying, they're going to die in the famine, all right? They're going to die in the plagues that the Lord is going to bring. As written in verse 5, it says, Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, all right? One of them is famine. That's why you're seeing signs of it with this food shortage and these demands on the bread lines, okay? The demand on the food, okay? It says, Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. That's right. The Lord's going to bring the sword, famine, death, and destruction. All right. And we're seeing the stages of it. These things, these crises, okay, these crises, all right, don't just flare up overnight. They get worse. They get worse and worse. 2021 is going to be worse. All right. They have an influx of demand on the soup kitchen lines now. How about when 2021 comes? You know, it's going to be worse. Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. And that's what the Lord is going to bring. That's his counsel, to bring sword, famine, death, and destruction. Why? For wickedness have exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. So it's going to come a time where people can't go to these bread lines and get food. So guess what? Let me jump down. It's going to lead to this right here. This is 2nd Ezra 15 and 17. It says, A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, for because of their pride, the cities shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. Yeah, because eventually you're not going to be able to go to the food kitchen. You're not going to be able to get in digital line to get your food to be called when it's time to pick it up. All right, so people are going to go into people's houses and destroy their houses looking for food. All right, it says, The houses shall be destroyed and the men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of lack of bread and great tribulation. And you know that's going to take place in New York. All right, New York, the tri-state area, New Jersey, Connecticut. All right, New York, that area, that huge metropolitan area. Okay, it's going to be crazy over there. People are going to be desiring to go into the city, but people are not. Already now, you need, if you come from Maryland or certain states to go into New York, you need to quarantine for 14 days. They reinitiated that policy. All right, so that goes into a man shall desire to go in the city and shall not be able to. All right, they're going to cut off these cities. Why? Because now they have COVID. Okay, now you are going to have the famine. All right, the shortage of bread. All right, the distress of resources and the discontent of the people. All right, let's go. Oh, it's famine is a spirit. Okay, famine, famine is a spirit. Okay, it's an evil spirit, and people uh, uh, go crazy during the famine. Let's get that real quick. What is this? Sirach 30. Is it 38? I get it confused. Probably 39. Okay. Yeah, here you go. Sirach 39 and 28. It says, there be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of destruction, which we're coming into the time of destruction, they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them. So the Lord is going to have these spirits that were created for vengeance, okay, because we're coming into the time of destruction, great destruction. Those spirits are going to pour out their force, okay, and appease the wrath of him that made them. And who, whose wrath are these spirits appeasing? The wrath of the Heavenly Father. All right, it says 29. It says fire and hail and famine, right, and death. All these were created for vengeance. All right, so these things are created for vengeance. It says teeth of wild beasts and scorpions, serpents and sword, and the sword punishing the wicked to destruction. Okay, so these things, the fire, the hail, the famine, the death, that's what's coming to punish the wicked to their destruction. All right, the scriptures say that, behold, my servant shall eat. All right, we're not going to have to put ourselves in a position, all right, to deal with manifold terrors and tragedies and things that the wicked is going to have to deal with. All right, Ezekiel 7 and 15, it says, the sword is without, and the pestilence and the famine within. He that is in the field shall die with the sword, and he that is in the city, famine and pestilence shall devour. So not only do you have COVID, but you have the shortage, and you're going to have the famine, right? That they in the city going to have to deal with. All right. This is Ezekiel 5 and 15. It says, so it shall be a reproach and a taunt, and it says an instruction and an astonishment unto the nations that are round about thee, when I shall execute judgment in thee in anger and in fury and in furious rebukes. I the Lord have spoken it, when I shall send upon them the evil arrows of famine. So these famine, the famine is the evil arrow. Okay, it is a spirit. Okay, it says, which shall be for their destruction, and which I will send to destroy you, and I will increase the famine upon you, and will break your staff of bread. All right, and that's what the Lord did to the nation of Israel when we rebelled against him. He broke the staff of bread. All right, but guess what? These curses that the Lord brought upon us, he's going to bring upon the other nations. All right, he's going to bring upon Esau, Edom. All right. So will I send upon you famine and evil beasts, and they shall bereave thee, and pestilence and blood shall pass through thee, and I will bring the sword upon thee. I, the Lord, have spoken it. Okay, and that's what's going to happen. All right. Isaiah 51 and 19, it says, these two things are come unto thee. Who shall be sorry for thee? Desolation and destruction, and the famine and the sword. By whom shall I comfort thee? All right, and that's the question. All right, that's going to come upon Israel. Who's going to comfort our people, man, when they have to deal with this? All right, because they didn't listen to the Lord's servants, the prophets. We were telling them that these things are going to come to famine. All right, and all the signs are here, and throughout that, they still going to continue in their wickedness. All right, until the Lord utterly consumes them off the face of the earth. All right. So, well, with that, I just want to give all praises to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Rakakwadash. Keep on watching, keep on praying. All right. This is we're in that time. The scriptures say, pray without ceasing. All right, because the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushai is fulfilling His word. All right, and if he brought hell upon us as His people, how much more so the wicked? All right, so with that, call halal Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Salutation to you brothers that's pushing His word in truth and sincerity. Until the next episode, shalom.